Actually, yes, thank you very much. Now the webinar that we're going to be presenting today for Microsoft Dynamics Business Central and NAV. Today I'm gonna have the pleasure to giving you the presentation and introduction for some of you who haven't actually known yet the ERP to reconciling your bank accounts, right? Basically, we're going to explain the basic characteristics of the features and the main features, of course, of the ERP. We're going to show you how to create and prepare your monthly or maybe your weekly, it depends. Your bank reconciliations can be done directly in the ERP manually or by importing and by connecting with some services through your actual bank, so that we have a lot of automation when it's needed and required, right? So, well, mainly that will be the main topic today. So prepare, feel comfortable, and well, today we're going to have this presentation. It's open for you whenever you want to have a question, and also at the end we're going to dedicate some time in order to have some time for different questions, some time for different requisitions whenever you want to have further reviews on some specifics, right? So let's then just begin and let's jump into what we're going to be presenting today. Let me show you also the agenda. And well, basically the cash management is mainly done with different features that we have, such as a bank account, card, the bank reconciliation tool, as well AP and AR, these modules and with subledgers posting different transactions. So well, cash management is used to manage the company's bank accounts, the bank account administration, and the user must become familiar with the bank account reconciliation window and the bank reconciliation process. Understanding this process will help and make sure that transactions are always reconciled and that the user can follow the balances on the bank accounts. Now, also before going to our main objectives today, in Business Central and NAV, we have two main ways of actually making the bank reconciliation, but both of them do actually the same. Since this is a European product as well, from the beginning, we have a procedure of making a bank reconciliation the European way. But of course, for some specific countries, let's call it the American way, we also have a way of reconciling your bank accounts, but the only difference is that we would be very tied to your GL account. So every transaction that you post in your bank account should be reconciled month by month without exception. In the European way, there could be some cases where some checks might not be, might be outstanding still, that some transactions might not be recorded in NAV. So it could be still a little window where you could say, okay, some transactions won't be reconciled this month. So that would be the main difference. The US way, as like I said, it won't allow it. You need to reconcile everything. So now the objectives then, we're going to review today the bank account reconciliation window and the options for populating the bank reconciliation lines, and show how to process a bank reconciliation in terms of the steps, what will be the important tasks to do. So we are not actually going to make it very, very complicated in order to see all the different adjustments, but to give you the main ideas of what can actually we do. So let's then now begin with the actual reconciliations. So what do we do? The bank account reconciliation, transactions are posted by users by different journal types, such as the cash receipt journals when it comes from AR to receive some deposits, and payment journals whenever we need to pay to our own vendors, right? Or making some expenses, taking money from our bank. So we have in and out money coming from our own operations managed by one bank account or multiple bank accounts. Also, we have transfers, just to mention some different type of operations that we have within NAB. Transfer between bank accounts, and also we could, when it's needed, just manage the different operations for you to see, like interests, like fees for your specific bank, operations that are not calculated within NAB, right? With that we will call then adjustment flavor. So well, then a bank account transaction is posted as an open bank account ledger entry. This means that the bank account ledger entry is not reconciled. This means that all these transactions that we have in a bank account, we will call that we are going to have a status for our transactions. Whenever we post any transaction in our bank account, in or out, we're going to consider that that transaction is open until it's being reconciled at the end of one specific period, right? Last, the bank reconciliations are used to compare the open bank account ledger entries with the bank statement transactions, meaning that the bank should provide us the actual statement, right, with the operations that they actually have for the period, where we would be then comparing all the transactions, saying that the money is actually in the bank, in the real bank, right? Basically, it's just that. Understanding that that part, then we need to explain how to actually work with it and how to do so, and what type of things we are actually reconciling. So when you run a reconciliation batch for each open bank account ledger entry, a reconciliation line is created in our reconciliation bank. If all the suggested reconciliation lines match the bank statement lines for the corresponding date range, the reconciliation can be posted. In a typical business situation, the following difference can occur. Transactions entered into the bank account are not on the bank statement. Transactions on the bank statement are not in Business Central. Transactions in a bank account and on a bank statement correspond to another but are recorded differently. These differences must be reconciled before the reconciliation process can be completed. Meaning that, yes, in the beautiful world, we're going to say that we only reconcile a statement against what we have in the system, but in reality, we might have a lot of differences, specifically, like I said, with interest earned, or some operations that also were calculated outside NAB, some transactions that we recorded them in one way. They could be actually the same, but we need to match because we might have different deposits, but in NAB we just might have posted one single line with all the total for different or multiple transactions. So that's the actual work of reconciling them, right? That kind of operations that we might be doing all the time. So in order to do so, I'm going to go directly into one window where we will be operating this operation, this task. So in order to present the main fields, this is the bank reconciliation window that we're going to be showing and demoing today. So before going and jumping in the system, I need to explain you some basic fields, right? The first one, the bank account number. Here is a WW operating. If you see in the red square, we have one field. This is the bank account code, or to be reconciled. So you might have different banks, and we make a reconciliation one at a time, all right? We don't reconcile multiple bank accounts at the same time. So we would then be calling the specific bank account. The statement number that in this window, in the second field, we see the number 26 is the number of the bank account statement. So after you enter a statement number and put the bank reconciliation, we see this number, and this is a consecutive number that should match your actual bank statement. So you have a comparison every time you need, right? Then the statement date in this third field is just that we need just to post on the specific date where we are actually reconciling maybe at the end of the month, in order to consider this as posted. So we are not actually affecting your bank account to your GL. We are saying that we are closing these transactions to be reconciled on one specific date. So they are not considered on further operations. So It's very important now to understand that we are reconciling a total amount. So the balance last statement is that field. Specify the ending balance that is shown on the last bank statement that is used in the last posted bank reconciliation for this bank account. Meaning that we're going to have from the very from the very beginning, one starting amount to reconcile, and at the end of the day, when I receive my statement, I will be having the statement ending balance. So the whole idea of reconciling is that I need to compare those amounts and just that, all right? The beginning, at the end, and the transactions involved in the difference among these two main amounts will be giving me the total amount to be reconciled at the end. So this is giving us a hint of what to reconcile. Then we have our reconciliation lines. In this section, we just see a window. We just see actually two windows that actually present different transactions, right? This is the European way. And why do we have two windows? Well, the idea is that in the left window, we will be reconciling the actual bank statement lines, either because we can populate this window manually, we could use NAV to help us to populate this window, or we could have a service connected to our actual bank account to import the transactions online in real time. And we have also different ways I'm going to show you, such as importing an XML file that you can request to your bank whenever they have and whenever they offer that service, download it maybe from a website or receive it directly to your email, the bank account reconciliation on an XML file directly from your bank, and it can be prepared, customized, and imported. So in the left window, you could have directly that information. In the right window, then we will be having what we have in our GL account in the ERP. So that's why we will be comparing two different main sources of the same information theoretically of the different transactions we have in our bank. One in the system that is on the right, and one in your actual bank statement information that should be on the left. So just to consider that, if you see on the right window, you can see some check marks on every transactions, and that's the purpose of the reconciliation. Marking your transactions, meaning that they actually are present in the real bank statement. So meaning that they are posted, your vendors have whenever you pay your checks, they have actually go to the bank, and also your customers could have make the deposits while you were actually just transferring the deposits in NAV and so on, right? So also you can see that we have the color green, meaning that I'm making more easy for the users, for the accountant or the accountant clerk, for him making easier to see which specific lines were already reconciled, right? So basically this is it. And now we can see also that below every window we have some balances. Every window should have a balance, the total balance, but mainly the balance to reconcile and the total difference. If you can see, well, I'm going to show you how this actually specific fields work, because we should work together while we are reconciling on the balances. The balance to reconcile total outstanding checks sometimes. We're going to show you that. And the difference, the total difference field that we can see here in this window in the lowest part. This total difference is going to tell me if I have some issues with some transactions that I have not yet reconciled yet. Right, so what is behind this? Okay, now let's go to explain some fields of the lines that we are seeing. All right, first of all, on every transaction in our lines, every transaction should have a transaction date, all right? Specifying the posting date of the bank account or check ledger entry on the reconciliation line when the suggest lines function is used. I'm going to show you that part, all right? But let's remember these fields before going to the actual reconciliation, all right? We have different type of operations to reconcile. The first one is the bank account ledger entry, used to reconcile an entry form, a bank account ledger. Then the check ledger entry used to reconcile an entry from a check ledger. Let's remember that you on your bank account in NAB, for those of you who have not used this module yet, you have your regular deposits and cash receipts or your payments, and also you could generate just we have a second check ledger to review specific checks that you might have in your different books. And last but not least, we have differences used to record an amount in the bank reconciliation that is not posted in Business Central to balance the reconciliation. Like already said, maybe you have some fees that were calculated for your accounts on the bank, and then those fees will be included in your bank statement, but we don't have a way to calculate those in NAB, so we will need to include them, and on telling NAB and making an operation to transfer those new operations that are normal, but we need to transfer the information to NAB and tell NAB that it's not a lost transaction, it's just a fee or an interest that we have, and we need to reconcile in the same period. So last but not least, the description. And that way I'm presenting these fields. Why? Because at the end we have an automation, an automated engine in NAB, in Business Central, that help us matching automatically. Those are good news for those of you who are currently working still in Excel maybe. Well, this engine matches automatically your reconciliation by the description of the specific transaction, the date, and the type. So NAB could review the checks to reconcile, as well as the bank account ledger or the differences whenever it's needed. It will review the description of the transactions to match also, and the date. Remember that sometimes we don't post our transactions the same day we make a deposit. We might forget it and deposit making the transaction in Business Central later, a few days later or a few days before. So we have a window, and NAB understands that part. We need to just specify a time frame. So well, that's why I'm explaining these specific fields that I have in the transaction window or the reconciliation lines. Whenever we see, and we're about to see the window in a moment, and we need to understand how NAB help us matching the information automatically. So by description, by the transaction date, the type, and even the amount, NAB is going to help us to match automatically our bank reconciliation to avoid more further work. So that way you also will be able to understand that whenever you actually post the transactions on time with the same description and so on, and the bank account also have specified that information, then we're going to be able to move faster. Now, once we have this, I want to explain you before going to the actual demo some other options and features that we have in this ribbon that we have. All right, first we can see some different buttons that I'm showing. These buttons will help us to make the actual reconciliation. All right, here we have different engines, automations, and we have ways of actually working within NAB and making the bank reconciliation easier for us. The first line, the first button we have is the suggest lines. This is the first button we're going to be demoing. The suggest line function is going to help us and tell us what should be reconciled for the period. It's going to be helping us to populate the statement window where we should be declaring what we are about to reconcile that should be on our statement. All right. So NAB is going to help us suggesting these lines, right? Remember that we also could import or having a service connected to your bank. Whenever they offer this type of services, we could review and we could, why not, help you to make a specific work with your bank to help you connecting those type of either importing an XML file or connecting directly to a service, web service, for you to generate the actual lines and you don't have to continue to input. Then after the suggestion of the lines or importing your files, we have the transfer to general journal. So sometimes at the end of the month we are going to have to declare maybe there was one operation that was not in NAV, we just forgot it, or in normal case we don't have a way to calculate interests or fees calculated by your bank. So what we do is from the actual reconciliation we receive from your bank or your XML or by suggesting lines from the actual system, and we might have some transactions that are not present in the ERP or in our GL account. So we would need to generate right away an actual financial journal. So this helps us to have an automated process to declare to NAV, hey, this transaction is not in NAV yet, help me transferring to a general journal and posting it automatically for you to don't waste time on this type of operations, right? Then we have two buttons, just post. This means that when we have make a reconciliation, we can just post it and have it in our historical records, right? Then import the bank statement. This is helping us to import a file whenever it's prepared. Remember that this is in relation to your actual bank and the region where you are working, so we can prepare that for you. And last but not least, some basic tools: match manually and remove match. We have some, and match automatically. We have some basic tools. We have more to actually help you reconcile. So match automatically is going to review, like I said, all the transactions in the two windows, and it's going to compare the description, the dates, the amounts, and so on. And it's going to help us matching automatically the transactions for you to save a lot of time. If you previously needed 4 hours to reconcile, you could actually, I don't know, only require half an hour. I have seen that some other reconciliations in 20 minutes is completed. Then match manually and remove match. Well, you can manually just match the two windows. This is what we are going to be demoing today. So in this presentation that I can share with you, I have presented and I have some descriptions of the same explanations that I have in forever for any time you want to actually take the material and study by yourself. Remember that purpose of this presentation is not only to maybe me just demoing the tool, but also you can have this material if you want it. All right, so well, let's go directly into the demonstration after the basic explanation of the features of the bank recon, and then let's try to understand the overall process. The main steps in the reconciling of a bank account in the Business Central are as follows. First, we need to fill in the bank reconciliation because whenever we start, it's going to be blank. So that's the first step. Then update the bank reconciliation lines, meaning that we need to maybe give some maintenance, right, to review the actual lines, input the interest and fees transactions calculated by your bank, reviewing in any case whenever we don't have all the specific transactions that are in your statement, you can include them, and so on. Now, the third step is to record incorrect transaction amounts, so you can review maybe after importing from the XML file or from the suggest line functions, you can check that there might be some mismatches with what you have in your GL account. So let's take a look one by one to all of your transactions, and we would need to just review that they are okay in order to start reconciling and so on. A review, start making the actual reconciliation. Sometimes we need to reconcile multiple deposits maybe to one journal that was posted in NAV and so on. So there are multiple type of operations. Review your checks and so on. Last, when we are just finished, we just post it and we are finished. So in this demonstration, we are going to do exactly those steps. So then the scenario is that April is account well, Actually, we should say NOES and accounts payable as a stand, and I'm responsible for reconciling a bank every 14 days. In this demonstration for April, I'm going to be using the operating bank account, all right, for the January 2019 periods, all right? If I'm not mistaken, sorry, that would be wouldn't be this year, but if maybe my demo sometimes have a license that is not on the same year. Let me check that, but let me open the demo to clarify that. So now let's go to the reconciliation steps, but for now, let me now open NAV so we can continue with this. So well, I'm opening NAV. Now, for those of you who are seeing for the first time, we have some KPIs here for the accounting manager. We have some documents that we will need to be posting, document approval, we have approval workflows, and we need to review. This is the first time in the day I'm opening my NAV window on my Business Central Role Center for the accounting manager. Well, I don't have POs to approve, purchase orders to approve, but look, I need to reconcile some payments that I have received from, because actually there will be those type of operations will be actually being part of the later reconciliation. So as you can see, since I'm the accounting manager, I can see the payments that should be reconciled every day, and I should actually just review my specific payment for the day. I have a payment for 100 and well, and so on. I can see the balance of my bank account, so I have a hint, right, of the specific payments that I have for the day, the balance bank account, and so on. So, well, in the just continuing before coming back to the bank topic, I just have a chart that I'm showing that is showing real information of the cash flow forecast. Well, maybe not by GL account, but let me change by accumulated cash. Okay, this little line is showing me that my accumulated cash is increasing for that specific period. But this will be, okay, this is better. Okay, so I have this in real-time information telling me, yes, like I said, according to the cash flow forecast, we'll be reviewing my, let's say, income, liquid assets against my passive or my AR, my debts, and so on. So I can review the cash flow for specific periods. As you can see, I have the 2020 year in this demo company. By the way, I'm working in a demo company called Kronos. The name of the company here is a company located in London. So well, basically this is the main presentation of the role center. In the left side, I have some menus that will be helping to navigate to the different areas. And in the top, I have some functions like the look bank reconciliation, right? Just to mention some of the for those of you who are seeing NAV for the first time, all right? So this is prepared for the accounting manager, the activities that he needs to review today, some of the process that he can do, like the bank account reconciliation, and this was done specifically for the accounting manager. So with that brief introduction, let's go into the actual topic. If we want to understand what are we reconciling, let me show you also the bank account features that we need to understand. Okay, this is the bank account card, all right? Now, for those of you who currently operate within NAV, you already know this very well. I'm going to show you just the information that will be pertinent to understand for today. First of all, I have my balance is 1,371 for the day, all right? This is also, this is local currency, this is a local currency bank, but the whole idea is that at this point, every bank account, as you know, actually has a link with the GL account, or we can see that in the bank posting group Okay, we call the posting groups the link with our subledgers to the actual chart of accounts. And every bank, at least in NAB, has a specific bank account. Okay, this operating, WWB operating a bank account for our test, which 1 million here for the balance, has all these specific balance actually posted in different transactions in one bank account. In this case, 5310. If I want to see as well that bank account, specifically for the American way, it will be really important to understand that I need to reconcile. Let me show you the chart of accounts. In this case, the revolving credit, that's the GL account that I have. From my GL account list, look at the total assets. In the liability section, I have this account for the revolving credit. Then I will be reconciling all the transactions posted. Look at the balance of this bank account, right? This is the actual chart of accounts, and here we have once again the actual balance that we are reconciling. As well, we can, one of the features of NAB, we are saying that this GL account, revolving credit, should have and should be reconciliation account, right? Then I'm just going to click on the actual balance to navigate to the detail of that bank account. And here I can see that I have all the different transactions, all right? I can see some, some fees, some deposits that I have from some customers, as you can see in this section, the posting date of all the transactions, the document number that we are about to review, the GL account, of course, actually the one that is linked to the bank, and the description whenever we posted this was posted in NAB, all right, using this GL account. And this will be presented, this information will be presented according to the period we want to use. For instance, if I want to reconcile the January, I will be seeing all these transactions, all right? Then also the document type, we might have payments, and so on. So this is just the GL account. If we are reconciling in the USA version, all these transactions should be reconciled with no exception. In the European way, I have still some window to say I'm yet not going to be reconciling specific transactions yet, maybe in the next period. Now let's go back to the bank account card after reviewing the GL account to understand what we have here. Okay, we need to also understand that for every bank, I also have checks. Let me show you the ledger entries. Okay, we have a connection with the subledger. You have seen already the GL account transactions. Now, also we have a subledger for the bank account where we can see all the same information, but the one, look at here, we have the same registration fees and the deposit from the customer account group, all right, the one that will be just in the GL account. This is the subledger, and we have a direct connection with my subledger in this window and the GL account. This is done through the posting groups. So this is what is going to be reconciled, right? And you can see what I'm showing here. And why do we have a subledger? Because we have some other features like the open status. The open status means that I have not yet reconciled this transaction. If we have a check mark on the status of this transaction in my subledger, this means that I have not yet reconciled these transactions. Also, we have some check ledger entries. Well, I have not checks actually in this a bank, but every time I generate, for those of you who currently use NAB, every time I use a check to make a payment for any vendor, in this case, I will be generating a subledger check ledger entry for my bank account. So these deposits or these checks also, the vendors will be going later to the bank or maybe not, and so on. I might be having outstanding checks, right? And so on. Or if the vendor visits the bank, I might have that check already in my bank account statement, right? So I need to just reconcile that to know that all these check ledger entries are as well reconciled, as well as the normal deposits or payments in the ledger entries subledger. So, well, that's the way you can verify what you will be reconciling, and as well, I have the balance from the last statement and the last statement number. So I have some other features like the last check number here is a 199. Some numerical series, the last statement was the number 27. So I have a sequential series every time I reconcile. Last but not least, this is the amount that if was reconciled the last time I made a reconciliation, so I can expect that to be my initial balance for the next. So with that, I'm just going to go and explain the bank reconciliation process. Let me just go and open directly a bank reconciliation. All right, here it is. Okay, this is the bank reconciliation form. Okay, it's completely blank for now, but here you can see the two windows, right, that I was explaining, and the other different fields, and in the top, some of the functions that I have just explained before. So the whole idea, I'm just going to jump into the actual bank reconciliation. I'm the banking clerk today, and I need to indicate in first place what will be or which account I want to reconcile. I have different bank accounts, as you can see here in this first bank account number field. I'm just going to pick the one that I was going to be reconciling now, and this is the operating. Let's see, it's not filling in. Let me go directly bank account reconciliation, generate from the system a new one. There we go. Now, once I have introduced the bank account in this form, guess what happened? First of all, NAB reviewed the last statement. I'm going to be working today with the 28 statement. This should be matching the statement you received from your bank account, okay? And then I need to indicate just the starting date of the statement date. Since I'm actually, well, this shouldn't be the first, but the 31st, actually. I reviewed that I was in the future. Excuse me, this format of my date. Since I'm just reconciling and my company, demo company is on the 2020 a year already, I'm just working in the future, and I'm just going to use that, but only for the demo purposes, all right? But this should be indicating as well the real statement date with the balance for that statement, which in this case is indicated here, and statement ending balance as well here, all right? Let's say that I will be reconciling, all right, let's say the same amount for now. Basically, it's just that, but you have this specific a figure on your actual bank statement when you receive it, the statement ending balance. So we might be, we have then the balance last statement amount and the statement ending balance. So we can see the amount to reconcile, and the total difference field will be then indicating the actual difference that I have, right? So why not to have a difference today, just on purpose? Okay, now I can see that I have a difference here among the two specific balances for that period, all right? So let's begin then, and let's try to see what it happened. In my statement, I have 100 more and why I should be doing that. But here in the right side in this window, when I inserted the bank account, NAB brought all the transactions that were linked to the actual GL account for that specific period that I'm actually to present all the open transactions that I have for my reconciliation. And here, all those transactions were recorded. I have different deposits, transfers, as you can see here, some payments, and basically, well, I can see some fees, different type of operations, all right? And then all of the the amounts are here and the dates, of course. I have, for you to understand, this specific checkbox. Whenever when I start reconciling, I can start clicking on this checkbox to indicate NAB that I have reconciled that specific transaction against what is the left window, right? Not yet presented with the information, still blank. Then the open check mark, meaning that these operations weren't yet reconciled, and the check ledger entry when I have a check, okay, to reconcile against my actual check ledger entry. Now, starting to work with the with this function, suggest lines. All right, I have two ways of populating the left window. Two main features. Okay, the first one is the suggest line function that is going to be bringing all the transactions that I have at a Business Central. Is going to be helping me just to populate that because I still can edit the left window. All right. The right one is are represented already posted transactions, which I cannot just modify, but the left window I will be able to do so. And then also I have the import bank statement function. So we can prepare a specific XML file that you can actually import from your computer when you have downloaded from your bank services, or if they provide that file to you. So you can immediately just populate the left window with the actual information from the bank, right? So those are the two main ways to populate this this specific window. And what I'm going to do is just today, I'm going to use the suggest line function. Let me show you. The suggest line function is going to be helping me to populate this left window for this specific date that I wanted to reconcile. So this is in the future. Like I said, this is January for 2020. And then you can indicate if you want to include checks. Well, in this case, we reviewed that the check ledger entry is empty, so this is not going to bring any type of check, but it's just a line to be reconciled at the end. So the whole idea is that I will be populating these specific transactions, and then you could maybe, if you are working on that level, exclude the reverse entries. All right, like I said, it depends on how you actually work within your with your bank and the bank statement. Otherwise, this should be left unmarked. All right. So we just indicate the starting and the ending date, and NAB is going to help me bringing the different transactions that I will be just reconciling according to the criteria that I selected. All right. So let's start working on this. All right, so I have the two windows populated now. These were just suggested by NAB. I still can edit this window because, by the way, if it's blue, this means that I can just edit it, all right? Meaning that I should make some adjustments because I will be comparing the two of them, all right? So at this point, as you can see, some of these lines were already green because NAB automatically, when I suggested the lines, actually reconcile my left and my right window. So that's very, very, very good feature whenever you use this function or you import your bank statement from maybe an XML. Immediately NAB looked at the specific date, the descriptions, and the amounts, of course, in order to start reconciling what he could. And that is exactly what happened here. all right? It just, the engine just immediately reconciled for me, except for these transactions. Let me see, because they are not included in my time frame that I'm reconciling. Look, see, well, this is basically because they are still in the future, all right? So these fees, the Canon Group PLC, these transactions are still not even in the time range. So they are not yet to, they are too much in the future. So they are not yet to be reconciled since I'm reconciling only January in my demo, all right? So that I don't have in the European way. That it's good to have this example, because if this is in the American version, you will need to see what you will be doing with these lines. This should be either reversed, or you need to populate a new line with these specific transactions. Otherwise, you are not going to be able to reconcile them, right? So basically that. So now that we have that, we have explained the main features. Also, once we have this, I would need to or use some functions that I have. Let's review these tools: match automatically, match manually, and remove match. Okay, why this is happening? Because the whole idea, look, now I have clicked on the remove match button, and I could see that everything is now black because it has not yet been reconciled. It's not green yet. And the whole idea, whenever you receive, let's say, this type of transactions, and the way you actually reconcile, at least with these tools, is that you can either use the match manually or match automatically. We have seen how it automatically matches, but let's use this function. I'm going to once again match automatically with the help of NAV engine, but we need to specify, remember that the transactions that you post in NAV do not always have the same posting date or the same date that you have in your bank statement. We know that, and we might say, okay, maybe I normally made the deposits at most the following day or after 2 days of the actual transactions that I post in NAV at most, all right? So, or all the way around. Whenever I just receive money from my operations, a store, the customer deposits in the warehouse, or any other type of operation, or transaction or sales operation or deposit, right, or payment. So I'm just going to indicate the time frame or the difference that I should consider. Okay, let's allow to match transactions that have a different date. If you see the description and the amount are okay, allow 3 days of 3 days of difference among the transactions that you find, because I know that sometimes I make the deposits later, or I record in Business Central some transactions maybe 1 or 2 or 3 days later, or even more. So you specify the transaction date tolerance, and I'm just going to click OK, and it's telling me, okay, I have found 10 lines that by date, by description and amount, and I don't remember if I have some other features or fields to review, but these 3 for sure are being reviewed by NAV. And once again, I have all these lines in green reconcile. And by the way, the applied checkbox is marked here, as you can see. All right. Once again, these 2 transactions that are in the future were not yet reconciled due date, and because they are not in January, basically just that. So these are not only I can, let's remove the match once again. I can match automatically, preferably, that will be the case, but sometimes whenever I just see that maybe I have just received multiple transactions in my statement, let's say all of this, but in the system or in ERP, I have just consolidated many deposits into one single GL journal. Well, actually, very important to mention, since this is a sub-ledger account, I cannot post manually. or with a financial journal, any type of transaction. This should be coming either from an actual payment or cash receipt, from a deposit from a customer, or from a payment journal or check that you generate within NAB. Those are the main ways to actually post a transaction in my bank account. I cannot, once again, use a financial journal to manually affect these accounts. Why? Because then I will be having issues with the subledger that I showed you before in the bank account card, right? So once we understand that, anyway, the whole idea is that, yes, I could generate many or multiple transactions and help me matching only one line. So I'm going to match automatically. Well, this is not going to match, just showing you the tools, match manually. In this case, look, I'm trying to make a conciliation or reconciliation, I mean, among multiple entries against one, and NAB only found and verified that only one could be reconciled, okay? Here the whole idea is that you would be doing exactly the same matching manually, one by one if needed, or using the match automatically function in order to start reconciling or your transactions, right? So one against the other one and just continue reconciling. And now I want to show you some features or what NAB will be doing in this case. I have just indicated that from this random transaction, I will try to reconcile against this one, because it might happen that I understand by the description that I have one specific feature, a transaction that is going to be a matching from multiple deposits that I have against one single line that I have in the ERP because of the transaction that I remember how I posted it, but I need to sometimes review that type of operation. So here, if I'm trying to look for those type of transactions that I will be reconciling one by one, like in this example, I will be trying to make a reconciliation with my multiple lines against one that I could be having. And look, what I'm trying to do is to reconcile two lines that I on the right window against one that I have, but anyway, NAB is helping me in the difference field is going to be telling me, hey, against the transaction that you have in your statement and the specific transactions that you are manually finding, then you still have this difference to be reconciled at this point, right? So that's the whole idea, that you will be reconciling left or right side either manually, because you know that you know that your information is there, but they simply do not match the specific transaction. Maybe one belongs to multiple all the way around, could be one by one. So you can anyway use these tools to either manually or automatically match all the lines that you can, right? I'm going to remove the match and so on. So hopefully this is very, very clear. It's not actually difficult to understand that we are just reconciling two windows, and that's why NAB helped us doing so. And look, I still have a total difference of 142. I will need to review why. This is very important. This specific total difference field is helping me to understand whenever I have a difference. In this case, I have not yet reconciled. Look at the balance, total balance that I need to still reconcile, meaning that all this amount in total summarize this in my bank account, in the chart of account, and as well here I have once again the total difference, but this total difference field is among the two windows. So if I start reconciling, and whenever I finish my reconciliation, the total difference should be here, match manually, match automatically, excuse me. there you go, should be now 0 because I have reconciled all my operations for the month, right? But still the balance to reconcile still remaining is still the same because this is a total original balance to be reconciled in my GL, but in the left side, I still can see that now the difference among the two different windows is 0. So that's why I can see that I have these two fields, the total balance as well, but that I need to reconcile, meaning that I have the total balance, considering that I have the bank last statement plus the balance to reconcile in this period. Well, I have the balance that I need to actually reach. Okay, theoretically, everything should match at this point. Well, but as you can see here, I have some other transactions that I have not yet reconciled because they are in the future anyway. So, well, this is the way I will be reconciling, understanding how it works. As you can see, it's very, very easy. But, okay, also, I was forgetting about one specific type of transaction. Why not say, when I review my bank statement, I just suddenly saw that they are charging some fees, all right? Or I could have earned some interests, it depends. But whenever I have those type of transactions, well, they won't be present in the right window. And this means that at this point, what this means is that I yet don't have a way to calculate specific operations in NAB. Your fees, your interest loans, or your interest investments, right? All these type of transactions are not yet calculated in NAB for obvious reasons, but they are and should be present on the bank statement for a period. After I have understood that, then I have also, well, as you can see, I have different type of transactions, and I'm going to show you how as well I can edit the left window. All right. So in this case, I have the bank account ledger entry. I have check ledger entries. Those are the checks that you have posted. So we have also our book, a checkbook, and we could bring all the checkbook transactions, the check that you have used, to be reconciled in this same window. And the different type of transaction at the end. This could be okay, actually registration fees that were here in the future posted, right? We could just use this, and why not just to pay use the fees for January, all right? Something like that. And I see that this demo is 100. Yeah, it could be as well 100. Okay. So yes, I'm just posting one. This is something fun. Registration fees is negative, meaning that I have interest earned. Okay, but anyway, I have fees for January. I need to pay 100 for that month for the management of my bank account. The bank account is charging that now only in my statement. And if you can see, I have just registered this new line, but the difference, since it's not in the right to be reconciled in January, then I have a difference amount here that I yet need to pay attention, all right? And what do I do with this type of operations? Or this could be an error, you know, not only for fees that I understand that are not calculated in NAB, but sometimes I always, by different reasons, I have late transactions that were not posted in NAB, but I definitely will be seeing those transactions in the statement, or I just simply made an error, all right? So this type of operations, then I would need to generate a journal actually in order to actually just post it. But now we can use one specific function, get a transfer to general journal, and this is the only exception where I will be able to generate a journal only for those type of transactions. Remember that we should not, and we are not allowed to post directly into the bank account directly with a general journal unless I actually use let me see one thing. Because this has a subledger and I don't want to have differences between that subledger, right? So here, let me see. Okay, the amount was not transferred, but let me see if I have some. One second, some filters. General. Okay, that's fine. So I'm going to be generating one journal. Look at how it currently has a bank operating information, and the GL account I need to indicate which one I will be using, maybe for, let me see if I can find just consultant software, some type of fees, registration fees, all right. The description in this case will be bank fees. Okay, this is the only difference I will be posting for the period, and that will be the journal that I will be generating. So for the bank fees account, I will be making a payment, in this case for an expense, and I will be then using the bank account, a WWB operating that I'm actually just reconciling. So once I have generated that transaction, I just need to post it. Oh, I see some. The date is not correct here. Let's say that will be for January the 31st for the same period that I'm just reconciling, and that's all. Yes. Okay. Okay, look at this. Once I have generated this journal, I will be having a third transaction here. Those are my bank fees for January for as well 100. So let's do the following. I'm just going to delete and suggest the lines again. So NAB can help me matching automatically everything. That's all. All right. So NAB once again understand what I'm reconciling and match automatically for me the new transaction for bank fees as well. I can do it manually, as you already know, but the two transactions are, that are in the future are still open. All right. As long as my total difference amount is 0 in the European versions, or which would be for the Caribbean, Mexico, South America countries, this will be the way of reconciling. For Puerto Rico, the USA, and Canada, I would need to give an explanation of those two transactions or immediately reverse them to they are in the future and I shouldn't be reconciling those lines, do this error. Or if I have some other transactions that are in my statement but not in the ERP, I will need to continue doing the same operation of posting more transactions in order to include everything. But in the American way overall, I cannot register not only by the total difference field that should be 0 always, but also by the open transactions, which should be all of them reconciled, all right? So basically just that. And here, well, the statement ending balance is as well matching the beginning balance, the total balance, and by the way, the new 100 fees that I was actually just posting, right? So basically just that. That's why the total difference, well, as long as this one is 0, it's okay, all right? Either in the American or European way. Now, once I have just understood these basic features and the main logic or the way NAB should be reconciling, you might be asking as well, okay, maybe my bank do not always offer this service of giving me the XML file. I don't want to customize yet the bank a module to be connected through web services or other type of criteria that you might be thinking in order to populate this, because this is just a demo and it only contains just 10 lines like this demo suggested. In the reality, we have hundreds, right? So you can anyway have an electronic version of your PD, or maybe a PDF that your bank provides, or if you can request it in Excel, that could be another option, right? But guess what? Within NAB, we also can operate in integration with Excel. So what I'm doing and what I could be doing anytime, if you have an Excel file that is in most of the cases is available, well, I'm just copy pasting in this example my transactions from this window that I have already reconciled into my Excel that I have here as an example. And well, this could be only for maybe a review when I have hundreds and hundreds of lines. If you also would like to work in Excel, well, that's fine. It's not a problem for us. The only idea is that you can just generate this Excel file first and then just come here and copy and paste that information into this window. Remembering that we just need the same columns, just pay attention to the information that you copy paste, or otherwise you could be having an error because you could be trying to copy a text amount into a column amount and so on. So we should need just to keep the same order, and NAB is going to help us use Excel to copy paste information. All right, that's another really great feature. So you can use either NAB with these beautiful tools and colors, or Excel in order to copy paste information. What else? Oh, last but not least, is very important to understand before actually generating the actual registration of my bank reconciliation. I always review a preview of my statement and start printing it and review the following. Let me just, well, it's actually just the same information, but in an old-fashioned way of reconciling, well, I should always, and I need to understand, okay, the GL balance that I have is 1,372,000, okay, is here. Now, do you have positive adjustments, negative adjustments, all right? In this case, I know that I posted a fee, but it's zero again because I once again suggested lines. Once again, that's why it's zero. And I have an ending balance, right? Okay. Well, the difference should be zero. This is not okay just in the report, but just in the report. But because I can actually pause this, and I'm going to show you that in a moment. Then the statement balance is here. Remember that I should have a beginning balance. Then outstanding bank transactions that I have here as of total. Remember that I have standing bank transactions because remember that we reviewed that they are in the future. I have some transactions that are still in the future. So well, in this report, it's still good to print it or to save it or to do whatever you need just to understand and maybe mark the transactions that you couldn't reconcile. But here is the information, right? Outstanding payments and the ending balance, all right? It's just basically that. Here the transactions that you reconcile, and in the first part, the transactions that weren't yet reconciled due to any type of reason. But you can just leave them as long as the transactions that you reconcile and the ending balances are okay. Well, you could say that that's fine, right? In the European way, we can left, and this is a European a European database. Remember that this demo is from Great Britain in England. So, well, just for that purpose, yes, I can post this, right? If this could be in a North American version, this cannot be posted unless you verify those two. So basically it's just that. You can save it to Excel, PDF, or Word, and that's it. So what we have done just today, I'm going to give you a brief presentation. Once I have this, I just can finalize it by post and print the bank reconciliation that we have just demoed today. Let me just verify this. Oh, sorry. The review my. Oops, this is a keyboard. In another language. Okay. Well, we will need to just post the bank rec. But what we have done just is, okay, the reconciliation steps that we have just done today is populate and review the bank account reconciliation lines, update the bank reconciliation lines. Remember that you have different business situations. Transactions entering into the bank account are not on your bank statement. Transactions on the bank statement are not in the Microsoft Dynamics Business Central database or GL account in this case more specifically. So those transactions and the bank statement correspond to one another but are recorded differently. So you can, by the way, remove, delete transactions. Let me show you as well that you can do that operation. Once again, by opening my left menu, whenever I just click, you could delete any line whenever it's required, because you might not be reconciling or you might have included a line with an error, right? Just basically that. So let me go back to the reconciliation steps. So that's part of the activities we have just done today. Then removing transactions not in the bank statement. So typically the first step in reconciling differences, remember, yes, there will be always present, do different fees, interest earned, and I don't know, there might be some type of conditions where you might have different type of transactions not present in the ERP, or you didn't have a way to actually know in advance this type of operations, right? So you need to work with those like we did today with one example and continue then reconciling. Then adding and posting transactions recorded by the bank. So like we did, create them, generate, transfer to a general journal and post them. So you might be doing all this, and at last but not least, the final step in the bank account reconciliation is posting and you must verify that the following information window and the following condition must be met. The value in the statement ending balance field must be equal in the balance in the total balance field, right? So basically we need to verify that. Sorry. So with that, we could be saying that, we are considering the beginning balance plus the transactions that we are reconciling, and then that will be meaning that we won't have any other difference, right? That the total difference field equals the sum of all the lines with the type field set to the difference. And you can confirm these requirements by printing the bank account statement as report like we did. To print this report, following the, here I have some further instructions on how to do in this presentation some of the steps, so you can study later. And the bank statement, how to print it whenever you need. In the action staff of the ribbon, click Test Report, click Preview, and you will be having this basic report that we, well, anyway, but very functional, that is presenting you what you have reconciled, what is still outstanding, what are the initial balances, have you posted differences, and so on, all right? So coming back to my bank reconciliation, right? The last step is just to post and print your bank reconciliation. Click on yes. And well, I'm just going to preview the same statement that we have just posted, and the bank account statement was already finished, and the applied amounts, the statement amounts that you have, and the operations that you have on reconciled for this presentation, and the total amount. All right, these are the transactions we just reconciled, the total that we just reconciled. And remember, very important, since we are generating transactions directly from your GL account, very important, I forgot to mention, this is local currency, all right? You might be generating transactions or payments in different currencies, but at the end, whenever they post or they are posted in the GL account, they will be in local currency or the company's currency in other way, all right? So it depends of how you generate your bank account currency as well. In this case, it's local, but could be dollars, I don't know. It depends of the type of currency that you set up in your bank account, okay? So I don't know if you have further questions. This is for now the final slide for our presentation. Thank you very much. This was a very brief but important presentation for the bank reconciliation. If you have queries, you want to know more about how could we just make this operation to work for your company, or if you want to have this material, if you want to have it, please leave a message for me so I can send it to you. And well, now if you have any other questions, now is the time to do so. You can raise your hand and I can go back and make a reconciliation for any further doubts that you might have. So meanwhile, so thank you very much for your time, for those of you who need to leave as well. Hopefully we see you in the further presentations. We're gonna have, if I'm not mistaken, the following will be approval workflow. So for your financial documents, for your customer item modifications, and of course, the most used one, purchase order. All right, so that's all for today, for today's session. And I just, before you go, we have some historical information that we just actually have. Bank account ledger entries, check ledger entries. We have some other posted payment reconciliations. Bank account reconciliations. Okay, we have some historical information for us whenever we want to review. Let me see, posted banks, posted record. You might sometimes need, it's not in the, is there, okay. I would need to include that, but we can, of course, we have history for the bank reconciliations you have finished. So you can still see them anytime you need, right? So that's all for the presentation. So thank you very much. I still don't see further questions for today. Okay. So thank you very much, everybody. Thank you for your time. See you next time. Hopefully this type of presentations are good enough and interesting for you. And just send me a message at noe.wellman@optimus.guru if you want this training material. Let me just write my email here for all of you. Okay. At optimus.group. So thank you very much. You can send me any message with any query. If you want this training material, just email me. Thank you very much for your time, everybody. And hopefully we can see you next sessions. So have a nice day and see you next time.